What's up, guys? This is the Gospel According to Mark with a C. He is I, and I am he. Just taking some time to tell you exactly what's on my mind. Thank you for joining me once again, my friends. I hope all has been well. Now, listen, guys, what I'm going to talk about here is not exactly the feel-good story of the year, but I do want to talk about it because it illustrates something that I've been talking about for years now. And I want to challenge you guys to think about this because we are a fandom of imagination. You know, in sci-fi, sci-fantasy, all the things that we talk about, it is always encouraged imagination. And I want to refer to something in Christianity real quick. Keeping in mind, guys, I am not a Christian, though I was raised by one. I have great respect for Christianity, and I love Christians as well. But there is a saying in Christianity, and it is that Jesus, I believe, told his people that one of the most powerful, one of the most important concepts that you can learn in his teachings is the concept of do unto others as you would have done to you. Do unto others, meaning anyone who is not like you, who is not you, do unto them as you would have done to you. Now, of course, once again, this brings us back to imagination because it takes imagination to imagine yourself in somebody else's position so that you feel compassion, empathy towards them. It's very, very important. And then I started thinking about this recently, guys, before I get into this story, all right, because it all applies. Bear with me. This concept that we have in pop culture where you have people crying that they want representation, okay? Now, keep in mind, guys, there's nothing wrong with representation. It's healthy to feel like you're being represented. After all, America was built on the concept and the notion that in order to have taxation, you must have representation. In order to have your day in court, you must have a jury of your peers, people who are like you, you know, things like that. But at the same time, all right, the idea that representation is the end-all be-all, you must have someone who looks like you in order to identify with a certain character in a certain situation. Otherwise, the idea is that I never felt like I belonged because I never saw me. That concept is actually against the teachings of Christianity and many other religions and moralities in the world where you were taught to have empathy. But we've taken it too far these days because we demand to see someone who looks like us. You have people who turn off to certain movies because they don't see people who look like them. They start counting how many white people are in this show or movie, how many black people are in this show or movie, how many women, how many men, how many midgets, dwarfs. Sorry, Peter Dinklage. But yeah, so this is what's going on with that. Okay, so this is where we are today. And I started thinking to myself, this could be the reason why on social media, and you guys know I've been talking about this for a very long time, and I'll tell you why. Today, I'm just a little bit more alarmed about what I'm seeing on social media in terms of our sensibilities and things like that. But this is the reason why I've become so alarmed, because I see in this very fandom, I see in the people that I know, this lack of empathy. You know, I see this cynicalness or the cynicism that's been coming up. And it's more, you know, it seems like it's becoming more, right? So the challenge is to remind everybody that to do unto others as you would have done to you is probably the key to us peacefully coexisting in this world, right? Now, why am I talking about this in relation to this story? Let me just get into this really, really quick. And I do shout out a friend of mine who sent this story to me. She doesn't want to be named. That's fine. But I do appreciate you thinking enough of me to want to know what my opinion is on this. All right. So this is a horrific story, guys. But I have to share it with you guys because it speaks to what I'm talking about here. OK, and how we have to wake up and snap ourselves out of this, needing to see it be us, like, you know, in movies and everything, because these lines are being drawn for us, you know, and it's a very thin line, and it's hard to see it, but it's there, and it's having a great effect on us and our children. So anyway, let's get into this story, guys. All right, I'm sorry for the big lead in. It says here, prisoner eaten alive by bedbugs inside of a filthy jail cell. Prisoner eaten alive by bedbugs inside a filthy jail cell. LaShawn Thompson had only been in jail for 3 months before he was found unconscious in a filthy jail cell. While I'm reading this, guys, you might want to ask yourself why major news medias across the country, across the world aren't even talking about this, but I imagine it happens more than we would like to believe. The family of a prisoner who died while living in filthy conditions are suing the jail after over 1,000, all right, hear my words now, 1,000 bed bug bites were found on his body. LaShawn Thompson was found inside his jail cell in the U.S. state of Georgia. Here in the United States, something like this could happen, with his family claiming the medical staff on site ignored his declining health and did not attempt to resuscitate him. U.S. media covering the incident shared they had to be selective in which images they released to the public, as many were deemed too disturbing to show. He was eaten alive by over 1,000 bugs, with bed bugs and lice found inside the victim's mouth, nose, eyes, and ears. Bruh, how does this happen in America? How does it happen anywhere? Bed bugs and lice were found inside the victim's mouth, nose, eyes, and ears. Other inmates shared his cries for help, and they were often left unanswered by the prison guards. It is unknown why Mr. Thompson was serving time, because a lot of people would be like, well, what was he in there for? He wasn't innocent. He had to have done something. But listen, guys, listen. However, his family's lawyer, Ben Crump, who's always on the scene, shared he had only been in prison for 3 months and suffered with diagnosed mental illnesses before his death. So he was diagnosed with mental illnesses. Now keep in mind, there are some people out there who are actually trying to push that being conservative is a mental illness. Being anti-jab is a mental illness. They're actually pushing for these things. So when you hear that somebody was diagnosed with a mental illness, sometimes you have to give it the side eye. Why they're even in there, how they got swept into the system. It's getting pretty scary out here, guys. It says here, speaking to local media on Monday, Mr. Crump explained that despite the released images being distressing, the pictures which captured Mr. Thompson's deceased state were far worse. He says, when you look at the cell, it is clear that this was a human rights violation. Listen to my words. When you look at the cell, it is clear that this was a human rights violation, he said to News Nation. You can just imagine the miserable, god-awful death that he suffered. Okay, so I want to get back to that. The lawyer continued by saying that the local sheriff had responded to the incident, sharing 3 head officials of the jail had lost their jobs. However, it is believed that the infestation of bugs and rodents has been a long-standing issue inside the prison. All right, so despite the fact that he was eaten alive by the bugs, of course, the prisoner's medical examiner said the cause of death was unknown, of course, pending the lawsuit that I'm sure is inevitable. So, guys, here's the thing, all right? Getting back to what the lawyer Crump said about this being a human rights violation. This is what I've been talking about for years, guys. The distraction of race in this country has reached truly toxic terminal levels, because if we don't get a handle on this, this is going to be the absolute death of our society. As a matter of fact, in Islam, of all things, we got a warning from the Prophet Muhammad, may the peace and blessings of Allah be upon him. We got a blessing from the Prophet Muhammad, who said that in his last speech, I believe, that the fixation on race and also the taking of interest, but the fixation on race and what separates mankind will be the destruction of mankind. And until we get a handle on that, I can see that's exactly where we're going, because the distraction of race would take people away from something like this, and it's hard to sell the racial aspect of this when you really look at it, because it's clearly a human rights violation, and it's a challenge on us to bring it full circle. It's a challenge on us to imagine this happening to any human being, okay? We don't have to put ourselves necessarily in the story. We don't have to see ourselves in the story to know that this is a tragedy against humanity. And this is the challenge of humanity, to see each other this way. But we are being conditioned, guys, and I know that we're being conditioned, we're being inundated, we're being bombarded with all of this garbage that separates us. And it's on purpose because it takes a lot more energy to hate, to be angry, than it does to be cool, to be at peace. These people who are in charge out here, whoever they are, they have gone out of their way to create a society and a world where we are constantly at each other's throats. We're constantly playing on the differences between each other. We're constantly feeling better about ourselves in a sick way by putting down others. And this is something you see me talking about on Twitter all the time. I have to, because I've become painfully aware of how this is hurting the kids. As you guys know, I'm very plugged in with what goes on with my son. He has a very diverse group of friends. And when I talk to them, when they all come over here, they're not doing well, man. You know, they're not doing well. All of them are feeling bad about humanity. They're feeling bad about their future. To some degree, that is a common thing with kids and everything. But social media is not helping. You know, we're not helping by constantly wallowing in the worst of humanity. And when I go on Twitter and I see these people constantly posting pictures, videos of black people doing terrible things, and then black people want to constantly post videos and stories about white people or what they consider to be all white people, all black people doing terrible things, we go back and forth and back and forth. And that's what we do. And we're totally missing the concept of do unto others as you would have done to you. We're totally missing that concept. And I have to raise the flag about that because, like I said, I see it coming up into, like, forgive the term, toxic levels. I mean, that term is misused so much these days, but it's true. Nothing could be more true in this context because it is toxic, because it is poisoning our morality. It's poisoning who we are. So when you see a story like this, where a man is eaten alive by bugs, a human being eaten alive by bugs, this is an institution that's supposed to be there for mental illness, for even corrections. You know, it's not there just for black people. It's not there just for white people. It's there for people, for humanity. And when you see these conditions inside of a country that's supposed to be about freedom and well treatment of other people, civilization and everything like that, it should be alarming to all of us. All right, so I put it in that context, guys, and I've been going on for a while now. I don't even know if this makes sense, but I'm going to release it anyway, and you guys can tell me about it. I'm going to leave the link to the article in the comment section below. It's going to be pinned, so you guys can let me know how you feel about this. Consider this a warning, guys. When you see a horrific story like this, there's two things you should be thinking to yourself. You should be thinking, why is this not all over the news media? Why is it? Why is it not? You know what I mean? And you should be thinking to yourself that this has got to change. You know what I mean? This has got to change because, of course, a threat to justice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. We should get that because it's coming home right now. You know, we see it every day. This is not good for us, guys. But anyway, get in the comment section and let me know how you feel about all of this blabber that I've been doing. And let me know if it makes any sense. Thank you guys for listening. I'll catch you on the next one. This is The Gospel According to Mark with a C. Rock on.